okay. The story goes.
The story.
Well, when I was younger, I was basically pretty much a punk rocker. And I didn't wear a lot of makeup, and I was kind of, I was a rabid Cure fan, like just obsessed with the Cure. And so I'd take all 17 of my Cure tapes, and I would sit downtown in Santa Rosa and wait to meet people. And eventually I met a couple punk rockers and started hanging out kind of in the punk rock scene in Sonoma County. I was getting older, blah, blah, and I moved to London, and I met some amazing, like, glam rock women. They were fucking brutal with their makeup. They would take like 2 or 3 hours to do their makeup before we went out. And I was so inspired by these women, and I was like, shit, like, you can take 3 hours to do your makeup. Even if you have a vagina, like, that's okay. Like, why wouldn't you? So I started doing, like, really kind of, like, club kid looks and going out clubbing a lot, and kind of allowed myself to reinvent. So I came back to California, and I wanted to move to LA, of course. And I did. I moved to LA. I lived in Hollywood for 2 years. I was on the Hollywood nightclub scene, going to all these awesome nightclubs. But, you know, and I was really inspired by the queens that were in LA at that time as well. I was like, y'all are fucking fierce. I love your looks. Like, and I'm kind of this, like, chubby, cute, like, club kid girl. But watch out, because my heels keep getting bigger and bigger. And secretly, I want to get on the stage. I just haven't been booked yet for any gigs. So I came back to San Francisco, and I was going to SF State. And so I was go-go dancing, but every time I go-go dance, I would, like, lip-sync all the words to the songs.
Right.
And I would, like, have sweet, like, choreographed moves, and every once in a while I'd bring props. And so my friends were like, you need to go just be a faux queen. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And they're like, well, it's a girl who does drag. Like, they have a weird faux queen pageant. And then my other friend from LA was like, well, you need to go to Tranny Shack, actually, and try and get, like, into Tranny Shack. And I was like, okay, I'll go see what it is. That year, I entered the faux queen pageant, and brutally was robbed. I never win in competitions. I refuse to compete anymore because it was actually a really great show, and somebody who totally deserved to win. But I'm no good in competitions. I'm no good in auditions. I'm only good when I'm, like, booked and on stage and just doing my thing. I don't know how it works. But Heclina was like, I'll book you for the Gong Show, which is like the show where you get booed off stage if you suck. And I was like, oh my God, that bitch thinks I'm gonna suck. Okay.
Show, yeah.
So I showed up at the Gong Show, and she's like, do you mind going first, Trixie? And I was like, oh my God, she thinks I'm gonna fucking blow. Like, I'm totally gonna go first, and I'm totally gonna rule, and it's totally gonna be awesome. We won.
You won.
We totally won over the incumbents that had gotten ready at Glamorama that night. And after that, I started performing at Tranny Shack regularly. Mm-hmm. So I felt really, really at home in that scene, and I feel like I was embraced by it, and I embraced it. And that was the first time I really was like, okay, like, here's my stage, like, here's my theater family, like, this is kind of epic.
So you write and play all the instruments on your own songs and perform them as theatrical pieces.
So my first debut performance of my own music was this year in September at Folsom Street Fair. And what I did was I took my music, built a show around it involving dancers and involving a giant fake laptop that all my dancers were tied to, and it was sort of this melding, you know, it was my idea of like what drag show would I do to my own songs. But, you know, and I love doing wrong things that, you know, that make people think, like, am I comfortable with this, or am I not comfortable with this? And if you're not, that's fine.
So what do you love more, being on stage or the writing process?
I mean, they're linked. There's no way to separate them, so I don't know. I love the process of bringing something to the stage. And so writing is kind of like
the beginning of it.
It's the foundation of it. I mean, I love performing, for sure. I love being on stage. I love kind of giving and receiving energy with people. But I guess writing's in isolation and performing is not. So I definitely enjoy being out with people, you know, like a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's all right. You don't have to know. It's just a question. So tell me about your experience working on the movie All About Evil.
I didn't get to work on the movie. It's so sad.
You didn't get to work on the movie.
Yeah, but I got to work with the movie afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Which is totally has been phenomenal. First off, Peaches Christ is amazing. Everyone that she works with is amazing. She has a tendency to find people that are so talented and so devoted and have so much, you know, creative energy. Basically what happened was when they were filming the movie, I wasn't able to make the shoots that they were doing for extras. So I'm so bummed because I'm not in the movie at any point. But after the movie had been made, Peaches was going to take it around and do a pre-show. One of the reasons I think that I hang out with so many drag queens is when I was 12, totally watched Rocky Horror, was epically changed forever by my obsession with Frankenfurter. And not my wanting to be Frankenfurter, basically. And it pissed me off, too, because I was like, they're never going to have a girl Frankenfurter. And in Petaluma, they totally had a girl Frankenfurter. I know her. She just was tall. When I heard that Peaches was going to do this show, I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. And she contacted me and was like, I would like you to sing in the pre-show as Deborah Tenise, who's the lead, played by Natasha Lyonne. So we performed at the Castro Theater, and it went really well. I ended up on the DVD, even in the extras.
Cool.
Was like,
really cool.
So
exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Rory and Michael, who were two amazing dancers, were sharing the stage with me and just helped it be so epic. And we all ended up going to New York together and doing the pre-show in New York.
You are the front woman and co-writer for Smash Up Derbies, the world's first mashup rock cover band. What inspired you to get involved in doing mashup?
Well, that again is one of the situations where I had been go-go dancing at the stud for my friends' clubs. Back in the day, first there was Guilty. And that was like Adrian and Deirdre, who were A plus D, who are still the DJs at Booty, which is a huge mashup club at the DNA. So I was go-go dancing. And then they moved it because their club was getting bigger, and so they moved it to another bar, and they changed the name to Booty. And Adrian and I mean, we had actually technically met in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, back in the day,
the olden days, yeah,
when I was go-go dancing down there. But so we had met back then. And I knew he was a singer, and I knew he usually played with his band. And so he had this project. They'd done, I guess, a one-night thing where they'd done mashups live with a band. And then they were going to play, I think, Folsom Street Fair. And he was like, do you want to go-go dance or backup dance? You know, because I'd been go-go dancing at the club. And I'm like, sure. He's like, do you want to do some backup vocals? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can do backup vocals if you want. You know, I can sing.
Wow.
But, and we just started kind of, you know, performing the songs that they had, which of course is a small set. And they wanted to play more gigs. So we just started writing more mashups. The first mashup that I ever came up with was 1979 by Smashing Pumpkins with the vocal for Don't Stop Believin' over it. Because I was obsessed with Don't Stop Believin' at the time. And I still am obsessed with Journey. But my thing used to be soft rock, hard cock. I was like the first of the nostalgic yacht rockers, like back when it still wasn't quite cool yet to enjoy, you know, Peter Cetera. Or after being with them for a while, we had, you know, we recorded some stuff that never really got out there. And we had written a repertoire of like, you know, over 30 mashup songs. And we performed all over the U.S., and we'd actually gotten to Beijing, China, which was an incredibly intense experience, but really awesome. And they were playing more and more gigs at the DNA. And I was not able to do kind of other drag projects and other theater projects and my own music because we were so busy.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, it was like, okay, I might have to step away a little bit from the band.
Go back to your roots.
Do other things.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, so the Lily's Revenge just closed here in San Francisco. What did you love most about being a part of this production and working with Taylor Mack?
Definitely meeting all the new people that I met through the production and getting to actually know them and share the stage with them and share the backstage with them and getting to spend time with them. Spending so much time with, a cast that's that big is just so incredibly gratifying. It's an amazing opportunity. Mm-hmm. And there are definitely people that I would not have met. Our paths would not have crossed. And now our paths are linked. I have an amazingly special place in my heart for Taylor for being so bold and for being so open. And I think everyone in that cast was the same way. It was, a fearless openness, a willingness to, not be paid a lot and to put in 2 months, to this project and to really full force commit themselves to this kind of wacky, incredibly beautiful play that doesn't explain itself immediately and doesn't explain itself on the page and finds itself for the audience and for the actors through the process of watching it or through the process of creating it. It was really, really just a wonderful experience.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. It was one of those things where it was like, this is one of those in a lifetime experiences where you're like, this chance, had to happen right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that way I feel that way about Tranny Shack as well.
It's hard to label people, right?
And what is Tranny Shack? Well, it's a drag, it's a drag theater extravaganza, crazy nightclub, punk rock social event.
Where can people see you perform?
Everywhere.
In your living room.
Right? I am kind of all over the place right now, I feel like. I just came out of the Lily's Revenge, and I'm going to be at Red Hot's joining the Burlesque Kids in the end of June 22nd and July 8th. I'll be with Red Hot's Burlesque. At the end of July, I'm going to be working with Vivienne Forevermore and a bunch of other amazing queens, many of whom are a little bit younger than me. I'll be the grandma. And then I'll also be assisting Rhea Light in her play at Counterpulse, which is going to be in the beginning of August, The Unbearable Lightness of Rhea. I'm also going to be at Supper Club and at Tranny Shack and, all these different places. So TrixxieCarr.com is the place to be.
What's next? Are you working on some new projects, music-wise?
It's the music.
It's the music.
I sent, I'm going to come out with my first EP, a souvenir for the existentialists.
Yay.
Get it? Why would you need a souvenir if you're an existentialist? Okay, anyways. But I'll be putting them up on iTunes, and then also they're already available to listen to on MySpace and SoundCloud, and I'll be performing those more and more. I was talking about Tranny Shack and Ben Randall, who was go-go dancing for me at the Gong Show. And in 2009, Ben and he was directing, put up my first play, which I wrote called Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dionysus.
Oh.
And it was an epic journey. Kind of the main idea was, that we have these deities and we have these ideas of, gods or something outside us being able to answer questions that we have and solve problems that humans have. But in my philosophical opinion and view, these are kind of more constructs that humans have created, and ultimately they're responsible to and as fallible as the humans that created them. So my image of Dionysus was kind of a very fallible Dionysus who was trying to help a group of starving San Francisco artists find employment and find happiness, and by the end of the play was basically unable to answer their question for them. But we would have a different drag queen every night, do a Deus Ex Machina, and take Dionysus back to Mount Olympus to continue working on artistic projects. And it was a very, very awesome play that I hope to be doing again soon with Ben.